Hey everyone, I prepared a short video about the VideoGraphing, just as I promised.
Nice.
Okay, let me first answer the questions, why am I doing these videos? And the answer is, besides the most common ones like promotion or sharing experience and knowledge, is almost 80% of the working time you stare at this. And sometimes you just miss speaking to people. And it's not like you miss communication in general. If you're a freelance graphic designer or an IT specialist, your communication tools could be stylus on a graphical tablet or lines of code. So in a way, almost any profession is about communication, whichever type of communication it is.
You know what we're doing right now? You and I, we're interfacing.
But whatever your occupation is, you know that being able to communicate with your working equipment or software is just as important as communicating with your colleagues, friends, or family members. And of course, you know that an effective communication can make a huge difference. I'm sure most of the wars in the world could have been prevented if people could effectively communicate with each other and agree. And effectively means to be able to deliver and receive messages the way they were meant to be delivered and received.
Message received.
And that's what this video is going to be about: videographing and interpersonal communication. And how are these two things interrelated or connected? Almost more than a week ago, I came back from Osh. It's the city in the south of Kyrgyzstan, where I was involved in the backup health GIZ project in Kyrgyzstan to make a promo video about on how communication important is in the primary medical care. As a matter of fact, I've never realized how important communication is in the healthcare effectiveness. So let me give you a little background on the problem here. If you've never been to a doctor's appointment, then chances are you're a healthy, lucky person. Good for you. Or probably you need to have yourself checked, and as soon as possible. I imagine my last appointment at the doctor's office, and I think of how much comfortable I was there. How fast can you open up to the doctor? Do you provide all of the necessary information that the medical worker requires? And here many might remember the famous doctor and his expression.
It's the basic truth of the human condition that everybody lies.
Well, you might think, so everybody lies. Yes, there might be areas where small lies seemingly don't have noticeable repercussions. I don't know, maybe you're not 100% honest with your spouses, siblings, or parents, and it may kind of work okay.
90%.
Absolute honesty isn't always the most diplomatic, nor the safest form of communication with emotional beings.
Okay. 90% it is, Doc.
Okay, 90%. But it's important to understand when you talk to a doctor, it's primarily important for you to be honest and be open, because faulty decisions are usually made based on a misleading information, and healthcare mistakes can actually mean lives. And of course, it's not mainly the patient's fault, since medical workers are trained to work with patients, and hence it's one of their responsibilities to encourage patients to be honest and open, which, as you might understand, is not an easy task. That's why the healthcare workers need this special training. And here, GIZ in Kyrgyzstan set up special TOT trainings to help to address the issue. And I was glad I could take part in those trainings as a videographer and to make some videos highlighting the issue and the possible solutions. As a result, we come up with several mock-up situational videos shedding a light on the cases that happened in real-life situations and how those situations should be effectively managed by the healthcare workers. So the very first challenge I faced as a videographer is that we needed to film a real healthcare workers acting in mock situations. So those doctors and nurses pretty much knew what to say. That's pretty much their day-to-day work-life situations. But the challenge was to make them act and follow the plot, which is usually not a problem with real actors. But with people who don't get filmed at all, that might be an issue. All of those feelings like confusion, worry, anxiety, vividly seen on their faces and body language. So if you're planning to make a video of such kind where non-professional actors or actresses involved, I found this tips quite helpful in my case. First, I learned that even as a cameraman, you need to establish sort of a connection with the person being filmed so that he or she can trust you. And before shooting, it's a good practice to explain where the shooting is going to be aired or showed. Second, you need to convey a feeling to the people you take shots of that this whole thing is not a big deal. Kind of a devalue it. And I personally try to ensure that everybody was aware that it would be several takes at least. Of course, it doesn't mean there have to be all of those takes. But knowing the fact that there was possibility for the do-overs, it kind of helped people to relax and be more comfortable in front of the camera. And of course, any cameraman or camera woman will tell you to take as much diverse shots in terms of angle and proximity as you can. And the more they are diverse, the more interesting, richer and bigger your final video would look. Even if you happen to have only one camera, you can make different angle shots if you know what footages you're looking for or how they should look. And of course, in this case, it might require some physical exercises from the cameraman or the camera woman, but the next time you shoot and you have a second or third camera, you'll most likely have a better idea where to place them and when to operate them. What I also found helping is to always remember the key points that you need to show to your viewer throughout your video, so that your shots follow the logic of those key points. In my case, the key points were something like the repercussion of ineffective communication between the patient and the healthcare worker, or the process of mastering of ineffective communication skills, and so on and so forth. And thus I tried to make those shots that could show the process where they face the challenge first, and then learn the ways how to overcome it, and eventually how they manage to learn and apply the skills. Another helpful technique I find quite useful, that's actually connected to the tip number 3, is that whilst editing interview shots, you might want to cut out some of the parts of that interviewed person's speech that you might find irrelevant or overabundant with fillers in the speech. And it's probably going to happen quite often because you can't take an infinite number of takes. And there's almost always some part of that you want to get rid of and cut out. And once you cut out all of the unwanted pieces of interview, you need to cover the joints by the footages that you might find, well, relevant to the interview. For example, in this interview, I cut out some odd and irrelevant pieces and covered the joints with some video footages that I took earlier in the trainings. So these are the tips so far. Definitely there are more of them, and if you want to learn about them, please let me know below in the comment section. And of course, I'd appreciate it if you share these tips with your friends and colleagues, and thanks for watching this video. See you in the next episodes.